It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights.
It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, motivational. This is what we call a Muppet Show. Green smoke.
Okay, sure. I mean, I guess I'm kind of a Muppet. I am pretty, goofy and all that stuff, and I always have a hand firmly up my... Wow, that was a horrible start to this video. Hi guys, how you doing? I know it's been a while since my last video. Let's just say last month was really rough on me. It kind of took a mental toll on me. There was a lot of different factors into it. Of course, COVID-19, the whole COVID-19 thing, that is definitely an issue. But a bunch of other issues sort of cultivated into sort of just this, you just sort of lose yourself and you sort of just feel really down, and just there were so many different factors into it. I won't go into full details about it, but let's just say there were some health issues, not me personally, but other people I care about. And we're all doing all right now. We're sort of getting on a track to being healthier and all that stuff. But again, there were so many different factors that sometimes when that happens, when there's so many things going on at the same time, it caves in on you and you feel really down and you're not sure how to escape from it. You feel stuck, and there's you look, no matter how hard you try, you feel like you can't get back up from it. And that's not true at all. The thing is, it's not easy at the same time. It really feels like you're at such a huge disadvantage. You wonder to yourself, it's how can I even come back from something like that, But, I think the fortunate thing for me is, but, at the same time, I think everybody out there has someone in their lives that they can always go to. Some people might think, no, I'm alone, I have nobody, but that's not true at all. You know what? I care for you guys. I care for all, 13 subscribers I have? But, no, that's not, for anyone who watches this, you guys matter to me a lot, and it would break my heart if something happened to you. I want you to know that if you want to come talk to me, that's fine. At the same time, I need to reach out to other people too if I'm in a rut. And I'm always fortunate to have such a good family and good friends that I can always talk to when there's an issue at all. I guess that's a great thing, just to have that support. And like I said, you don't have to feel alone. I care for you guys. I want to make sure that everyone's okay. That's kind of always been a strength of mine, and always a weakness too. I always care about other people, but at the same time, when something goes wrong, like I said, with the health issues with other people I know closely, that sort of contributes to the anxiety and the depression and the sort of a little bit of the panic I've been feeling during this past month. And we're trying to get back on the right track. We've been trying to eat better, and things are starting to get into motion. And that's the thing about being down, when you're really feeling down. At the end of the day, people's things will get better. The thing is, though, yeah, that's true. There can be those highs, you can get better and all that stuff, but they don't just happen by themselves. You kind of have to take baby steps into making it better, It can be tough, I know. Trust me, I think that all the time, but I feel once you take that first step, you'll start to climb a little bit gradually, and then you'll start to accelerate more, and then you'll start to get on the right track. I think that's the biggest thing. And like I said, it's not easy at all. It really isn't. But again, I'm just fortunate to have a lot of good people. I'm fortunate to know all my friends. I'm fortunate to have my family, and of course my niece too. I always gush about her, how she's the best baby in the world. I love her. She's such a sweetheart, and she puts a smile on my face. And yeah, again, I'm just fortunate to have all these great people here. And again, it's a very slow process. And I think even recording this video right now is that first step, because I've been feeling because I love doing these videos, but something's been holding me back. And sometimes, like I said, in order to make these videos aren't going to produce themselves. I mean, you gotta take that step and push yourself in order to do it. So yeah, probably just rambling on. But I want to let everyone know that I'm okay. I'm doing well, and my family's doing well too. We're just trying to, deal with the tough times and trying to push forward in the end. Again, not easy stuff, but we have each other, and I think that's the best thing in the world when you're able to say you have someone by your side. And again, if you ever have any problems, just know that I'm here too, and that you can do it, and you can push forward, and then... but again, slow steps. Don't feel like you have to rush through it. It's not an easy thing. Okay, but again, quick shout out to all of you who are watching this. I appreciate all of you. You're great people. Even the people on, on Twitter. You're all great people, and I'm fortunate enough to know all of you. And that's the greatest thing you can always ask for, But yeah, so I'm hoping to record more of Doom this week, and I said I was going to resume work on Kingdom Hearts, the Nintendo version remixed this week, but that didn't happen because those baby steps, and I really do want to get back to it because I feel the inspiration again, and I'm really excited about the upcoming worlds we're going to visit. Plus, of course, too, I'm finishing up Doom as well. I'm very excited about that. Because I would like to do Doom Eternal eventually and do a Let's Play of it. Because on Twitter, I've mentioned it's my new favorite Doom. I absolutely love it. It really took the series in a new direction. And I feel like it really perfected the formula. I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, but that's just what I think. Maybe because I played the original Doom for so long and... maybe I finally starting to see the flaws in it. I don't know. I still love the original Doom, don't get me wrong, but I'm not here to talk about Doom right now. Like I said, I'm doing well. I'm hoping to get back on track really soon. Hopefully, we'll get new Doom videos out soon. I'll resume writing, and everything will be as it was. And again, I know it's hard times again, especially with COVID. Definitely, COVID-19 is a big factor. But again, I feel like you can't just wait for it to go away. You have to make some progress as well, like taking the right safety precautions out there, and yeah. So again, let's move away from all the bad stuff, and let's move on to the meat and potatoes of this video, which is Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I guess we'll start out with kind of why I'm very late to talking about this game. Well, aside from sort of the personal issues I had this past month. When I pre-ordered the game, this was before the shutdown. Like an idiot, I decided to order it from a GameStop, like actually go to the store, because I have a gift card for it. And I didn't realize, I didn't foresee that it was going to close, that everything was going to shut down so soon. So, I had to wait until everything opened up again, until GameStop was back up and running, so I can go and play the game, and then get some time to actually sit down and play it. And... I guess, there are many different ways you can go into Final Fantasy VII, or like any game that's a remake of something. Like, you can go into a fresh mind, like you've never played the original, but I have played the original. I played it back in the day, so I feel like I can kind of, I feel like it's important to understand where I stand with the original before we get into the remake. And like, does the remake do things better than the original? And yeah, we'll get into that stuff. So what do I think of the original Final Fantasy VII? So, it was one of the earliest RPGs I played. Like, Mario RPG was the first one I ever played, the first RPG, and I still love that game in my heart. And it was really Kingdom Hearts that got me into the Final Fantasy franchise, of course. I think that worked out for a lot of people. Like they said, it's a strange crossover, but I'm sure Square Enix got a lot more fans out of that, And yeah, after Kingdom Hearts, I think it was Mario RPG, Kingdom Hearts. I don't think I've ever played any other RPGs before, like in between those two games. So it was definitely those two, and then I decided to check out Final Fantasy VII. At the time, it was really cool, and I think people who played it back in the day, it was really something different from the traditional Final Fantasy, which was set in medieval times, where instead it's more like, well, Final Fantasy VI had the steampunk thing going on, but Final Fantasy VII was, full-on dystopian future and all that cool stuff. So it was something exciting and different. The thing nowadays is a lot of people say it's overrated and stuff like. I always hate that word overrated. It's hard to label a game sometimes because everyone's gonna have a different perspective on it, and there's still people who really like Final Fantasy VII. I mean, me personally, I have a soft spot in it because it really felt more like an adult kind of game at times, and it was like I really felt it was similar to stuff like with when I played Doom for the first time, where you felt like you were out of your comfort zone and you were doing something very different, something that was very wide and very vast, you know. And for that, I enjoyed it for what it was. But yeah, looking back on it now, there are definitely a lot of things that haven't aged that have aged well about it. I still like the art style of the environments, which I think are really cool. It has a distinct style that you don't see that much in other games. It has its own unique flair. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of things that haven't aged well, especially the way the cutscenes are conveyed. There's really some bad translations in it, and the battle system, it's fine for its time, but I think like at this point now, RPGs have evolved from the simple, you know, taking turns and all that stuff. I know he had the ATB in I think that's what it's called, the ATB in Final Fantasy VII, where it felt more like active, but even then, at the same time, it still felt traditional. And yeah, I still say there is a lot of neat things in it, and it's a lot of fun at times. But at other times, it's very slow, and the story gets really like, I don't know. Again, it's hard to describe. Like, I feel like I like the characters just fine in it, but there was something they lacked, and even the story just kind of like, it just took off into crazy directions. And I guess that's kind of a thing with like all the Final Fantasy games, but I don't know. It's, again, I don't hate the game. I think it's fine for what it is, but I feel like there have been other Final Fantasy games that have done it better. Like, I love 9. I still like 9. You know, despite that, it kind of went back to the older style Final Fantasy games. It's just incredibly charming and all that stuff. But still, Final Fantasy VII, it's fine for what it is. Now, the remake, man, I'm really at a loss for words with it. And I'm going to be honest up front. The remake is way better than the original. I know there are some people out there who still prefer the original and just say that it did too many things different. But at the same time, it's a remake, so you're allowed to sort of explore these different avenues and do things you couldn't do before with the limitations of, you know, the PS1. And we'll talk about the ending. Don't worry. I have some things to say on the ending. I'm still trying to grasp the ending, and I had to do a bunch of reading after just to kind of get a better understanding of what was going on, because sort of like the timelines were all like, I don't know. I'm getting way ahead of myself. But yeah, I think the remake is better in many regards. And I guess I'll start with the combat, because the story, there's a lot to unpack with the story, but with the combat, it's a lot more refreshing compared to the original. But they do sort of utilize things from the original, like the ATB system and all that stuff. But it feels more like fast-paced, because you're running around the environment. You're having to be tactical with how you approach certain situations. It's all in real time. And some people say it like takes from Kingdom Hearts, but I don't, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit, but it also takes from sort of like Xenoblade Chronicles, wherein that it feels like real. It feels like you have to sort of be tactical with your approach, like choosing certain things at the right moments and all that stuff. I don't know if I'm the best to describe it, but basically how it works is with the you can run around freely, and you use like you can use your regular hard-hitting attacks on enemies, but when your ATB fills, you can actually go into the menu, and that's when you can use special things like your summons, your magic, and special attacks and all that stuff. And it just adds a lot more variety because you feel like you're more engaged. Like I said, in the original, you're just it's kind of going back and forth. It's like Pong almost, where it's just like, okay, you did your attack, you did this attack, but now you're running around. It's like, okay, how do I need to get over here so he doesn't hit me, and then if my ATB is full, I need to bring up the menu and choose which spell is going to be used properly in the right scenario. It just feels a lot more refined and a lot more engaging. Like my brain was just like, You can almost feel it, like you're using parts of your brain to sort of figure out how exactly you want to go about completing each battle, and it just feels really refreshing. And even it does it even more so than I played a bit of Final Fantasy 15. I only played the demo of it. I need to actually play it, but I feel like out of all the modern Final Fantasy games, this is one feels the most refined, because it really sort of takes all these elements from these different RPG styles and combines them really well. And again, it makes you really think of how to approach each thing. But the nice thing is, it doesn't like sort of overwhelm you, because when you sort of like when you use the ATB to access like all of your other things, like your magic, your special attacks, and all that stuff, it slows down the game to a halt, so you actually have time to breathe and sort of process what's going on. Because again, it feels like there's just so much action going on, where you have to run up to these guys and fight them, but then you have other guys coming, you have to deal with them, and then sometimes you have the big boss, and you have to figure out how you're going to take it down. It just feels, like I said, it's very engaging and a lot of fun. I mean, it's unfortunate that a lot of fans aren't like willing to sort of give it a chance and see just how different it feels and a lot more refined it is. I mean, the people who I've talked to about this game say it was really a welcome change, so I feel like I'm glad I'm not the only one who feels this way about it, because I just having so much fun just engaging in all of these fights. It just feels like, it really felt like you were just part of a movie and taking part of all these cool action sequences. And you sort of create your own choreography in it, knowing like sort of which attacks and spells work best on which situation. And you get to switch between the characters too. You're not just controlling Cloud. And I guess that could be overwhelming for some people, but again, it's like, you do have the option to like, well, there is I believe there's a classic mode where you can actually just, play as just Cloud, but it's a lot more fun to play as the other characters because you're getting a lot more variety out of it. It's just, there's a lot going on, and I'm just really grateful that they decided not to stick with the original battle system, and but at the same time you can sense that the original battle system is there. It feels like a spiritual successor to that in a way. So it's really cool. I really dug it. I really just found it fluent, just a lot of fun, and it feels like, so if like that was a multiplayer thing, it's something you could do with your friends too. That could be just a lot of fun, So yeah, I really enjoyed the combat system for that. I mean, was there any issues with the combat at all? No, I don't want to say there was. Like, I'm sure if any of you in the comments you want to share your opinions on me and say if there's something wrong with it, that's totally fine. There are a lot way better players out there who fully understand the inner workings of how the battle system works, so they can probably explain that to me, and maybe it'll give me a whole new perspective. But I really enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, so, visuals are good, too. I don't know, it's weird. Like, the visuals are great. Square Enix games usually have great visuals, and, like, I think it did such a great job. You needed the updated graphics to give a whole new life to this world. Because that's the thing, too. It's like I said, the game hasn't aged that well. I mean, for its time, it was impressive, but now when you play this game, the worlds feel alive. Like, you're going into town in Sector 7, and there are people chatting in town about, and they're gossiping about what's going on in the world. You feel like it's real, and you're a part of it. You're just sort of going through the motions and just, interacting with people and just exploring the world. It's really cool. But even then, the graphics are not, like, super perfect. Like, I guess it perfectly captures sort of the dark and grittiness and, like, griminess of Midgar. But at the same time, I don't know. There was something about the visuals that felt off to me. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain why. Like, I'm not expecting it to be, like, uber detailed or anything like that, but maybe it was more in the environment. Something about them felt almost fuzzy. I could be wrong about this, but like, they weren't like, I don't know, it's like compared when I played Kingdom Hearts 3, I thought the visuals were outstanding. And I guess maybe that's because every world had sort of a unique style, and they had a specific, the KH shader thing, which helped get Sora and his friends into these worlds, and they were colorful. And even like the original worlds too, there was something about them that felt like majestic and cool. And like, for the most part, I think especially when we're in Midgar, or when we're actually in the city and they show the neon lights. And actually, you know what, the wall market I really loved, because it really captured sort of like sort of this high-class place that's kind of, like, run down, too, at the same time. Because, like, when you go in, you see neon lights everywhere. But then you go into the back alley, and it's all grungy and stuff. I feel like the visuals do capture Midgar perfectly, but at the same time, something about them feels off, and they don't feel... moments where they don't feel refined, I guess, if that's what I'm trying to say, you know? But, yeah, and the music... Of course, the music is great. I mean, it's always really good music. I absolutely love the music. There's some really good remakes of the classic songs. And it's just really, as always, the presentation is top-notch. For the most part, anyway. Like I said, the graphics a little bit, I don't know, odd at moments, almost kind of murky. But I guess, again, it's supposed to fit into the style of Midgar and how sort of, like, depressing it is and all that stuff. And now, let's talk about the story, because... there are a lot of factors, especially with RPGs. The story is always a big factor in the game, and I guess I'll tie that into the sort of the side quests as well, because I feel like I think where Final Fantasy VII Remake, I feel like its major fault is in its pacing, because there are times when sometimes where there are a lot of new things added to give the characters more backstory and to allow them to just develop and be characters, which I think is a very strong aspect of this game. Something I feel that the original kinda did, but there are moments, like, you get a lot more moments between characters like Cloud and Tifa. Like in the beginning when he comes back to Sector 7, they spend a lot of time together, and you sort of get to understand better as to how they were these childhood friends, and like you could see how they had this relationship. And also we got a lot more times with the side characters, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. Yeah, like they were there in the original, but here they're so... that's the thing, all the characters in this game are really likable, and you just want to... because especially towards the end of part 1, spoiler alert, but those 3 characters end up dying, and in the original, it's like, I mean, yeah, it was sad that they died, but here you really feel it, and you don't want these characters to die because you spent a good time with them, and you got to know them as people. That's what I'm saying. The thing is, they do take a lot more time to flesh out these characters, so that you really feel like you really feel attached to them, especially with, Aerith. Like, in the original game, she was fine, and I know, like, you know, people talk about her death and all that, but... here, I don't know what the plan is for the next few parts, but now with this one, because they just make her so likable and so believable as a character, I really don't want to see her die now, because that would break my heart, because they just make her feel human, because she's not just all, you know, the perfect girl and all that stuff. Like, she can be very sarcastic. She kind of reminds me of, like, a Disney princess from the Disney Renaissance. Like, she's, you know, the pretty girl, they're kind and all that stuff, but they also very, like, adventurous and very spirited, and they want to go out there and do what's right, and they're just, like, they're spunky and all that stuff. That's, like, a lot of the characters. Like, you can see their strengths and their flaws in each of them, and it really shines through. But I know I'm jumping around the topics, but when I was getting onto the characters, I was just saying, like, how much more of an impact they did. And also, it helps, the voice acting is really good, too. Like, it's kind of a bummer that they got rid of the original English cast, but the new cast does their job just fine. I mean, I'm not sure who played Aerith originally, especially in KH2. I mean, I'm sure she did fine with what she had, but she's like, this is great. Everyone's together again. It's just like, no, it didn't work. This one, again, she feels more energetic, but she has a sweetness to her, but she also can be very sarcastic. Again, the voice cast, they did a great job, I think. And again, I think that's the strongest aspect in the story, for me at least. The characters and just how well fleshed out they are in this version of the game. But that's also kind of a problem, because so by the time you reach the end of Disc 1 in the original Final Fantasy VII, we have the big climactic moment where Aerith dies and all that stuff. Where the end of Part 1, we just got out of Midgar. So the problem is there is a lot of padding in this game, and sometimes it kind of works. Like, when you get a side quest, that makes sense in RPGs. You can do side quests, and the side quests are good because they also do add a lot more character development, because you'll get scenes where, like, Cloud or one of the characters will talk, and then they'll get a chance to know each other more. But meanwhile, they get to know more about the people of Midgar. And that's the thing, too. You get to know about all the side characters as well, and it kind of helps, like, build this world a lot more. But then there are definitely other parts that you could have cut out that were definitely not needed. Oh my god, Wall Market is easily one of my favorite, but my least favorite parts of the game, because it goes on forever. Because Cloud and Aerith, in order to get the right necessities, like the clothes and stuff they need to get inside, they have to partake in a tournament, and that just, I feel like it was a waste in my opinion. Even though it was nice how they used the house boss, they brought the house back from the original game and actually made it a boss. It was kind of, I guess, that's the thing too. It's like, I think a lot of the later Final Fantasy games took things way too seriously, where this one, it kind of acknowledges the silliness of it, and it just has fun with it. That's what I like too. But again, there are a lot of parts that were not necessary. Some parts I feel like were warranted in order to, again, build, build the characters' relationships and to sort of establish them better, and the world around it. Because later on, they actually go to the Shinra building, and they actually go on a tour. That's like something you see out of sort of like a cheap museum or something out of like a Disney park or something. And it's kind of fun. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it kind of paints sort of this, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like almost just how corporate everything is with Shinra, and how they're just doing this to manufacture the, is it Mako? I believe it's Mako is how it's pronounced. Just how sort of like phony it feels. Like, it does a good job of sort of establishing the world and all that stuff, like I said. But like I said, there's just a lot of padding, and at times the game feels like a slog to play through, because there are certain missions where you have to perform certain tasks. There's this one where you have to get Aerith across all these hands, these metal hands, and it just goes on forever. You have to, like, position the hands on certain parts. At times I got confused about what I was doing, so yeah, I think that's the biggest blow to this game, is that you could have cut so much out of it, and I feel like it would have felt a lot more, just a lot more, just because slow motion. This game was kind of going at slow motion, but no, I'm trying to say is, it's good to have slow moving parts, again, to let everything sink into your head about what's going on, but at the same time, you want to sort of pick up the pace a tiny bit, sort of keep going, because I was getting intrigued about what was happening, because, yeah, we'll get to that in a bit, but it was kind of interesting to see where this was going, but then you had to stop and do things that didn't really amount to everything. Again, I said, especially with the Walmart market, because there were certain side missions you had to do that went on forever, because you had to just go. It was pretty much fetch quests where you had to go from one place, go to the other, and yeah, it just felt like it was a slog to get through. But other than that, again, the strongest point was the characters. They were just really likable in this. And even Cloud, like, he didn't feel like just like, this brooding tough guy. He was just kind of like, he just had it with everyone's shit, and he just wants to get things done, and he'll put out a witty retort, like when Barrett talks about, the planet's crying, can you hear it? And then Cloud is just like, you just need to get help, as I just should have asked for more money. So again, the characters, they really do a good job here. It's funny too, because with Square Enix games, it's hard to explain. They always have kind of this weirdness to, like, the dialogue and the characters, but again, something about this felt natural, and it could be a number of factors. Like, the voice acting was good, the characters were fleshed out, I mean, even the dialogue was good at times. They sort of really did a good job, and I believe most of the original team worked on this too, so maybe this was a chance for them to go back into the original and realize, hey, let's try doing this better, because yeah, there's a lot of problems with the original Final Fantasy VII, so we could do this and make it actually fix this, and it could work a lot better, and I think it does for the most part. And again, the story is where things get interesting, because they introduce these ghost-like creatures, or these, well, how was best, like, almost like Grim Reaper. I forget the names of them, but they're trying to keep the timeline straight on path, but the Sephiroth apparently is trying to get rid of these guys. Apparently Sephiroth So is this the Sephiroth from this timeline, or is he from the original game? Because he's aware of what's going on, and I think, was it the Arbiters of Fate? Is that what they're called? I'll put their name on screen if I blundered that greatly. So yeah, he's trying to stop these, because whenever something goes wrong in the timeline, these Arbiters of Fate come in and fix things. But by the end of the game, things go... Yeah, this is where things get crazy. Things go out of control, and when at the end of the famous motorcycle scene, which was really nice, but again, that one went on way too long. Again, a lot of padding, but... So at the end of the game, this portal shows up, and the gang goes into it, and they're in this crazy world where they have to fight the Arbiters, and apparently as part of Sephiroth's plan for Cloud and his friends to destroy them, so he could sort of start a new timeline and be successful in this one. So, I don't know. Like I said, the end of the game is where it gets really weird. And the timeline actually changes, because Zack, you don't know who Zack is, he's supposed to be the original soldier, not Cloud, but Zack in the original games, he doesn't survive. In this one, he survives, and then he ends up bringing Cloud to Midgar, where Cloud's supposed to be found and all that stuff. But so I guess it changed things. So So Zack is alive in this timeline now. I mean, I don't know what to think. It throws a lot of curveballs at you, and you're kind of like, on one hand, I'm glad that they're trying something different, but at the same time, you just have to stop and scratch your head about what's going on. Because even the way they sort of present how Zack survives, it's kind of weird, because at moments you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, is Zack alive now? Or was he in the past and it was happening at the same time? Again, there was really a lot of confusing parts in the ending. But at the same time, wouldn't be lying if I said I was curious as to where it's going now. Because, I mean, obviously with the original Final Fantasy VII... Obviously, you know the original Final Fantasy VII, you know exactly what's going to happen. But now here, you're not sure what's going to happen. And it's kind of exciting, because maybe Aerith will actually live. Although maybe someone else will die. I don't know. I think that's almost the beauty of it. I know a lot of people were kind of like up in arms about that. And to a degree, I am too, because it felt like too much was thrown at you towards the end. Because they were kind of building these Arbiters of Fate up, and they didn't really do too much of them right until the end, instead of trying to establish their goals and their purposes sooner, and then sort of build from there. But instead, they throw so much crap at you right at the end that you're kind of lost and you don't know how to process everything. But again, I'm kind of intrigued. I kind of want to see how this is going to play out now, because I guess in a way it feels like a sequel. And yeah, again, I know people are kind of upset because now the game's going to go in a whole new direction, but at the same time, it's a remake. The thing with remakes is they're not always going to stick to the source material. And I mean, there's kind of a reason for that, because especially with movies or something, like those original movies, like I'm trying to think of an example, like Halloween. The original is, I think it's one of the best horror movies ever, and it stands on its own. So, and even Rob Zombie admitted that with the new Halloween, that, he couldn't top the original Halloween, so he had to do something different. But the way he did it did not work out, unfortunately. But you could see what they were going for. So they didn't just want to rehash the same things. And maybe they'll still, in Final Fantasy VII Remake, they'll visit some of the same places like the original, like maybe the Golden Saucer and all that stuff. But maybe those scenes will play out differently, and we'll see something new, and it will keep us excited to know what's going to happen next. And yeah, is there anything else I have to say about the game? I don't know. Again, the biggest issue I had with Part 1 was the padding, and especially some of the levels where you're just like, when is it going to end? I want to get back to the great stuff. Because that's when it gets like really... Because once you cut all that fat out, there's a lot of great potential here, because they try new things, and also the characters have a lot more time to develop, and you get to know them more. I thought that was really well done. But yeah, do I recommend it? Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think you should play it. It's a lot of fun, even though by the end you're just kind of going to be scratching your head and wondering what's going on. I mean, if you like the original Final Fantasy VII as it was, then yeah, you're not gonna like this because it does things differently. But I mean, if you're willing to play the game and give it a chance and sort of see how the script is flipped and all that stuff, then yeah, I would recommend it. Especially, like I said, the gameplay is a lot of fun. And even after you beat it, there are a lot of cool side stuff to do. You can go back to visit the chapters and sort of get items that you missed out on and all that stuff. And I'm not sure when Part 2 is going to come out. You know, again, the whole pandemic sort of screwed everything over, but I'm really excited to see where it goes, honestly. Again, despite my shortcomings with the game. And it's easily up there as one of my favorite games of the year so far. And, yeah, I think that's it. And, you know, even though, like, the original Final Fantasy VII hasn't aged, it's still worth playing just to see. Because here's the thing you gotta remember about this game. It kind of helped put Sony on the map. I'm not saying that's the only game that did it, but it certainly helped. I mean, could you imagine if it came out on the N64? Like, it would have really given Nintendo a boost, I bet. Just because of the lack of RPGs. I mean, there's Quest 64, but nobody really talks about that anymore. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII, it really helped Sony sort of stand apart from the competition. And like I said, it wasn't just that. It was, of course, Metal Gear Solid, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Twisted Metal. Like I said, those games certainly helped out too, and Final Fantasy VII played a part in that. And yeah, that's gonna be it. I promise there will be more Doom soon, and more Kingdom Hearts the Nintendo version remix soon. And yeah, that's it. Sorry about the long wait again. It's just trying to get yourself out of that hole. But again, I'm fortunate to have my family and friends like you guys there to I can always come and talk to. And same thing, you can always come and talk to me too. We're all in this together, guys. We can fight through the bad times if we just stick together. That's the most important thing to take away from this. I mean, you know, Kingdom Hearts, hey, there's silly moments in that game, but you know, that friendship thing, that has stuck with me ever since, so. Yeah, well, as they say in that game, may your heart be your guiding key. I will see you guys next time. Take care.